Okay, everybody, welcome. Welcome. We got a good show for you today. We got one of the guys from the industry made sport fishing relevant in Southern California for a very, very long time. With no further ado, we're going to bring in Pete Gray and we're going to get this show started. We got a lot of people already here to watch us, Pete. So let's get going here. Hey, buddy.
Hey, Captain Dave. Hey, audience. How you doing? I'm not used to the visual thing, It's like people have to actually see me now. It's like this is scary.
Absolutely. Well, Pete, once again, I just want to thank you so much for all the help you've done for the whole sport fishing industry. Like my father said, you made sport fishing relevant for a very, very, very long time. And you were a key instrument in that. And my dad loved you and loved to listen to you every Saturday and Sunday. But I know you did not start out in the fishing radio business. So there's a lot of people on the show already. And a lot of you get to interview people all the time, but no one ever interviews Pete. So
Yeah,
I gotcha.
that's cool, man. Well, thanks for the opportunity and thanks for the nice words too. Your dad was such a special part of Let's Talk Hookup for so many years, and he always kept me straight. He's like, we kind of guardian angel guy like Bob Fletcher and other people in the industry. But your dad, if we'd say something that wasn't quite on cue, like Bob Fletcher always did too, he'd say, wait a minute, Pete, here's the real story, because I'm sitting on the Pacific Fisheries Management Council and this is what we did. So it was always great to hear from your dad and what happened, the real story, right?
Right. Well, it was the hotline, boy. When you saw the phone ring, you were like, "Uh-oh,
Right.
what did I say?"
What did we say? Yeah. Where did we go off? Yeah, it's cool.
Well, I think it's really interesting and really cool from where you started and where you're at now. I mean, you've been doing this radio show. You're on your 32nd year.
Yeah.
That is absolutely amazing. That is
Yeah.
so amazing. You've seen
Yeah.
so
I
many
feel
changes.
very fortunate to be able to make a career out of this, no doubt about it.
So, how did you get into this radio thing? I think your family had something to do with it. Your pops.
Yeah, well, it's funny. My dad was on the radio in Los Angeles. We lived in Los Angeles when I was a teenager. He was on KABC in Los Angeles. His name was Marv Gray. He had the afternoon drive show on KABC, and ultra conservative kind of guy. He was like kind of a Rush Limbaugh kind of conservative, very, very conservative and very controversial guy. So super popular, and he was kind of the conservative voice on KBC at that time. And he actually passed away when he was only 52 years old. But my dad had such an amazing career in his short 52-year lifespan. He was a newspaper guy. He was he worked for the New York Times for another years. Grew up in New York, and then he went into the service and was in the Overseas Secret Service, OSS, during the war. And he actually won several medals for spying on the Japanese behind enemy lines in China before China was communist, when it was still a nationalist state and run by that. So he was a spy back in the day. And then came back and moved to the Philippines, and that's where I was born, in Manila, Philippines. He ran the Manila Times for several years, and then we left the Philippines when I was 2 months old, and he was a newspaper guy in Riverside area, ran several newspapers in Riverside, and then we moved to San Diego, and he was still in the newspaper business down here. And then we moved. Then he said, "We got to move to LA," and I was like, "No." So we were living in Point Loma at the time. We moved to Marina del Rey, and actually lived on a boat for a couple of years too in Marina del Rey and various places. But that's when he started working for KABC, and he was actually, before that, he was. It's all coming back to me now. He worked for Joe Pine. If you remember Joe Pine, I know the older people are going to remember Joe Pine. Joe Pine had the Joe Pine Show, the Beef Box, and he was on Metro Media and like naturally syndicated show. He produced Joe Pine's show, and then Joe Pine also had a talk show on KLAC at the time. And so my dad, when Joe would be off, my dad would fill in for him on KLAC, and then he ended up getting his own talk show on KABC. And so in that short 52 years, the guy did amazing things, and he was such a strong influence to me. He's the one that got me into fishing. He loved boats, he loved to fish, and just loved being out on the ocean. And he's the one that instilled that passion in me. I remember many days going over on our old Chris Craft and Tolly Craft that we kept at the Konakai Club over to the Coronado Islands and spending the night and catching halibut at night. And that was just great memories of that.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, and then how did you get into this radio thing?
So yeah, it's kind of funny, and so I was I was 18 when he passed away. So my career kind of went a different direction. I finished college, and then I decided I was a carpenter's apprentice for a while, and decided I didn't want to pound nails for the rest of my life. So I went back and finished another degree, and then I in marketing, and then I was working for veterinarians on the side. I was a vet tech and worked for veterinarians as a vet tech for a number of years, and decided that was not the career path I wanted to do. So I wanted to make some money. So I actually went and sold pharmaceuticals to veterinarians for a number of years. And then I wasn't real happy doing that. And then actually my sister told me, it's like, well, why don't you try and get into radio sales? And so I called up the local radio station, KKOS in Carlsbad, and I said, hey, I want to sell advertising. And the general manager said, well, you'd have any experience selling advertising? No. And so I got in his face, convinced him I could do it. And in about a year, I was the sales manager at the radio station. And so I was there for 11 years, worked for a great guy named Jeff Chandler, who owned the radio station. And it was a KKOS KCEO. It was 96 FM and AM 1000. And so I developed this whole thing. We weren't making a lot of money on the AM side. So I developed this whole thing where we could sell block programming. And I think we were actually the first people to start selling block programming in San Diego County, where you could have the Dave Hansen show if you paid us $500 a week or something like that. Or you could have the doctor show or the chiropractor show or the lawyer show or whatever. So we developed this whole thing, putting the people on the radio and having their own show for an hour. And then I thought, well, shoot, I think it'd be kind of fun to put together a radio show about fishing. So I actually purchased an hour on Sunday afternoon, 4 to 5 p.m. on KCEO, and that's where we started. And the first guest we had was Bill Poole, the legendary Bill Poole, the father of Southern California sport fishing. You and your dad and Bill Poole were basically the founding fathers, right?
Oh yeah,
they're the guys. And so, but San Diego sport fishing, Bill Poole was the guy. Your dad was, of course, Dana Point and San Clemente sport fishing and such. But Bill, at the end of the show, he says, "Kid, you got something here." And I was a kid back then. I was like 30-something years old. So I went, oh, cool. So I should continue doing this. He said, absolutely. Yeah. So that's how it all started. Then I moved the show to the Mighty 690 in San Diego. And that was an big all sport station, 50,000 watt station. And my owner of the radio station I said, but I need to keep my job as sales manager because I can't afford to not do that. And so he said, okay, well, we'll let you keep your job, but as long as it doesn't interfere with your current job, I'm good with it. So after a while, when we expanded out to be 4 hours on 2 hours Saturday, 2 hours Sunday on the Mightier 1090, the salespeople that I was managing started complaining to the owner and said, Pete's spending all his time doing all this stuff on the radio and fishing. And so he took me out to lunch one day, just totally cool guy. And he said, hey, you need to make a choice. And so I took a big gulp and said, okay, I got to pursue my passion, and never look back. And I'm very, very fortunate for that.
Yeah, it's been an amazing career. And like I was saying before, it has made sport fishing in Southern California relevant every Saturday and Sunday. And I know so many people that they set their alarm in the morning, they get up in the morning, they have their coffee, and they listen to your show. And they can quote you, they can quote Ricky, they can quote me. It's amazing how closely they listen to you every Saturday and Sunday. And all the sport boat captains, the call in, the whole thing, it's super important to all of us in the industry. Now,
thanks.
Back when it first started, you were by yourself?
I had another partner and he went away. He moved to Colorado or something like that. And then when he moved away, I had a guy named Rick Grover who owns Anglers Marine. He was with me we were trying to start a freshwater bass show. That didn't work out. Freshwater bass, just not my thing. And there's just not enough people that want to talk about freshwater bass.
Especially in Southern California.
In Southern California. So
Florida or something.
That part of it didn't really work out. So we concentrated on our saltwater. And then Rick went away, and I had Marty Milner come in as a guest with Bob Marriott from Bob Marriott's Fly Fishing Store, because I love to fly fish. That's one of my passions. And even though we don't talk a lot about fly fishing, and I asked Marty after the show, I go, what are you doing? He goes, well, I'm still doing a little acting, but not much. I'm kind of semi-retired. And I go, well, I said, I'm looking for a co-host. It doesn't pay much, but you get to fish a lot. And he's like, I'm in. And that made it happen. So Marty was with me for 11 years. Just a fantastic person to go with. He was a he-man, man. He was just like he was on Adam 12, he was, or on Route 66. He was a tough guy, man. I remember trudging rivers in Alaska with him, and I was considerably younger than Marty, right? And Marty would just go. He'd just go. He was tough. And just a wonderful guy to be with, brought a new identity to the show, and kind of really helped propel us to a next level, which was really cool.
Right, because he was a big-time star. He was one of my heroes growing up as a kid.
Too.
Let me tell you, Adam 12 was my show.
Me
as
too.
a kid. That was like the show, Kent McCord and Marty Milner, and it was like the show. And then my dad got him to be the grand marshal of the parade in San Clemente at the festival.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's cool.
Just because we had Adam 12 posters in our house. It was a big deal. And then he was on your show, which was incredible. And I was driving the Seahorse back then, and I would listen to that show in the morning, and I would just go, gosh, I just want an opportunity to be on the show. I just want to talk to Marty. I just want to talk to Pete. I would dream. I know that's a weirdo, but I would dream about an opportunity to be a part of your show back then so much. And I remember at the Fred Hall show, one day I was there setting up a booth for a client, and I had never met you. This was a long time ago. And I had a cart. I was working in the trade show industry, and I was driving a cart, and you were like, hey, can I put some on my, and I was like, oh, it's Pete. Oh, yes. You put some of your stuff on the cart, and we drove down the aisle, and I
remember that.
Oh my gosh, I'll start crying right now. It was a big deal to me, guys. It was a big deal to me. Pete was a big star in my eyes, and he sat with Marty on the show, and it was a huge deal, gang. And I'm so happy that you did this show with me today, because you don't know how important you were in my life and how important you are now.
Thank you.
My whole week revolves around getting ready to make sure that I don't let you down on Sunday.
Wow, you do a great job with that, Robert. Every Sunday about 8:20 a.m. on Let's Talk Hookup, you can hear Captain Dave give the fresh report. And what's amazing, too, about your reports, Dave, is that even though you're living down in Cabo now, you still know what's going on up here. How do you do that?
Well, I have 3,700 plus members of my website, private boaters that are out there every day. Plus my sister and my brother run Dana Moore Sport Fishing.
Of course.
And then all the captains that work for the family over the years, they run some of the best sport boats, like Aliar. He's like one of my really good buddies. I've known Aliar since he was a little kid. I call these people, they answer the phone, Pete, and they talk to me. And so I get some really good information.
Good.
So what's going on?
Yeah, that's cool.
But I want to say something about what you were saying about my dad. When you used to get that hotline phone call when I'd be on the show with you, and we knew we were in trouble. Same thing when I get done doing my show and it's 9 o'clock, and I just go, I wait from 9 to 9:30 to find out if I did anything wrong.
You'd get that call too, huh? Yeah, that's cool. That's neat. Yeah. Well, it's been, I've been very fortunate. The fishing industry is there's so many great people and players and people. And that's, I told Ricky when he started with us, and we haven't talked about Rock God Rick yet, but of course, Ricky is a very important part of the Let's Talk hookup, as well as Corey Sandin. But Ricky, when he started to be co-host, I said, you got to understand that we're not the stars. You and I are not the stars in this. We're just the facilitators. The stars are our guests, like Captain Dave, like Captain Frank Lopresti, like all the different Aliar, whoever may be the guest that day or guests that day. Those are the stars of the show, and that's what we strive for, and that's why we try and make people, make these people that are our celebrities, our stars, the showcase of the show. And I think that really helps a lot. Instead of just, us being like telling you how great we are or something like that, we're going to tell you how great Dave Hansen is, or how great Aliar or Captain Frank is, or something like that.
Oh, and one of my dad's favorite things was when you went up there to Dana Orr Sport Fishing and did that on-site.
Yeah.
Oh,
that was fun.
That was such a great day for him. He was so proud. He just was so proud. He was so happy that you went up there and did it on location, because you do quite a bit of location stuff. When you were with Ford, you go down to Ford, you go down to tackle shops, you do a lot of stuff. And my dad, he would tell me all the time, man, I wish Pete would come here. I go, Dad, I think all you have to do is ask him.
Yeah, exactly. And that's all it took.
Yep. And then
I think we did 2 or 3 live shows there.
I know it 2. And my dad was blown away, because when it was over, he's like, every single body that was there was just there to ask you questions. And I'm like, I'm sorry, Dad. I don't know. But it was fun. It was great. But what I love about the show is that, like you said, you bring in the guys. You bring in the guys, the captains of the boats that people are going out on, the sport boat captains, that people really don't get an opportunity to talk to them, and then you make them relevant on your show, and you make it such a personal thing that when these people go out fishing with these guys now, they actually feel like they know who they are, because they get to tell their story.
Yeah.
They get to talk. They get to tell you what's going on out there, and people don't feel that intimidated now because they've met these people on your show.
That's cool.
It's a big deal.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Dave. That's nice.
And so Ricky, because Ricky is a huge part, and boy, if there's any tackle questions at all,
oh man,
you and I, we don't.
No, he's the man. That's his life. He lives it every day.
But he used to be manning the phones when he was a little kid, right?
Right. Yeah. His dad, we used to call him the Codfather, because we nicknamed Rick Rock Cod Rick. And the way he got his name is he sent me a Christmas card with him holding a bunch of rock cods. And when he was manning the phones, our phone screener, and I said, "That's your name, Rock Cod Rick," and it stuck. And so we nicknamed his dad the Codfather. But his dad used to get up when Ricky he started like when he was like late 13, maybe 14 years old. He started answering the phones. His dad would, and that was when we were on 6 to 8 a.m. every Saturday and Sunday. So his dad would get up he worked construction, so he was up early all week, get up on the weekend, take his kid in, and to do the show at 6 a.m. every Saturday and Sunday to answer the phones when he was 14 until he could drive himself when he was like 16 or 17, right? And so the way it morphed into him moving on was he was with Marty and I for many years. And then when I would leave and go on a trip or something like that, Marty, believe it or not, as experienced an actor as he was scared to death of being by himself, because he wasn't super knowledgeable about fishing and tackle and stuff like that. So I would put Ricky in to co-host with him when I was gone. And Rick was a total natural from the start. And so that's how it all started. Rick would fill in when I was gone and be with Marty, and when Marty was gone, he would fill in with me. And then when Marty had to retire because of health reasons, I said, "It's your job," and he said, "Okay, I'm in." And so that's probably one of the greatest things that ever happened to me when he said, "Yeah." So
he is such a big time part of the show. It's just amazing.
Oh yeah.
Even when you bring in Frank Lopresti, or you bring in Tim Ekstrom, or you bring in any of these guys that are long range experts, when it gets to that tackle question, Rick,
absolutely, yeah, It doesn't matter who the guest is, whether it be a private boat guy or an East Cape guy or somebody from Alaska. Ricky knows the answers to what those questions are, and he's super knowledgeable about that. And like you and I, he has a passion for it, right?
Oh yeah, he does.
Yeah. Big
And
time.
then he's been with you since he was 14, but he's been at Fisherman's Landing for how long?
Oh man! So I think he started working at Fisherman's Landing when he was 16 years old. Yeah,
Right.
something like that. Yeah, Doug hired him part time while I was going to school, and then I think once he graduated from high school, he went full time with Doug. So yeah, he's been there many years. But now he's a part owner and assistant manager there too. So he's worked his way up the rail, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you can feel it when he's on the show and you have a guest come in, and you may not know this guest very well, a captain or something, but Ricky has a personal relationship
Oh,
with
he
him.
knows him. Yeah.
He's grown up there. So
Yeah.
it's a great, when you're interviewing people, Ricky has so much insight into these guys that are
Yeah.
legends in the industry. It's just a wonderful bonus to the whole thing.
Yeah, like tomorrow's guest, Dwayne Diego, man. I mean, Ricky and him are super close, and Dwayne Diego's such a good guy. Really, I don't know that you ever had him on your talk show here, but Dwayne is a super good guy and super a knowledgeable fisherman, and really kind of a pleasure to be around. He and Ricky have been buddies for a long time because they're pretty close in age and stuff like that. So they can relate a lot better than an old guy like me.
Well, I have a great story. Dwayne Diego, his very first job working on the boat, he was working for Jamie Thins on the Seasons.
Oh yeah, Jamie.
But he had an opportunity because Jamie was good friends of my boss, and I was running this Michelson, and we took it to Cabo, and that was Dwayne's very first trip to Cabo. He was my deckhand on this 43 Michelson, and
wow.
And we broke down, and we were stuck in Mag Bay for 16 days.
Oh my.
With no water, and I don't drink, but there was some alcohol on the boat, but that only lasted a couple of days. We were eating lobsters like they were apples because we had no butter, we had nothing. The Pangaleras would drive by and throw us some lobsters in the afternoon or something, but it was crazy. But Dwayne and I got to know each other pretty good. And he's a great human. He's just been super busy living his best life, going to Fiji, going to Australia, and then he's coming right into your show tomorrow. He's going to have some phenomenal stories to tell you about Australia.
He just landed from Australia, literally, right? I mean, just like a couple of days ago. So yeah, he's going to have some good stuff. Yeah, he does live the life, and good for him, man. He's on the go, and then he'll probably start fishing on Pinnacle Sport Fishing here real soon. So.
Right, he's very sought after too for the private boat guys. The guys want him to come with them. He's got his business, and he's got his three Parkers, right? And then he also goes and does the guide service with a bunch of guys on their yachts. So he's super busy, but like you said, he is so knowledgeable, and he's got it, boy. He's got it. There's nobody that's got that passion any more than Dwayne. He fishes every day for a living, and then on his days off, just like you and me, he goes fishing.
Yeah, so I'm excited about tomorrow's show. It's going to be fun because we only can get Dwayne like a couple times a year. But and the cool thing is, he just like you and I, he's a Costa Pro too. He wears the right sunglasses. So
yes, he does. Yeah. Yes, he does. So now your show has been on for total combined just almost 32 years, right?
Yeah. That includes starting. Yeah, we started in September of 1991, and that was before there was no internet back then, right? There was hardly even any cell phones back then. I think cell phones were like this big, right?
Yeah, like a suitcase.
Yeah.
Like a little suitcase. There was something that happened that really helped you out tremendously that I was a part of back, 2 years ago or 2.5 years ago when you had to move everything to the app?
Yes.
For a little while?
Yeah. So the original 10. So we were on 690. And then they migrated to 1090, same basic kind of management. It was just because they're Mexican signals, there were Mexican ownership changes, and they kind of had to migrate that station over to 1090. And 1090, of course, became this giant radio station. And then because of unknown reasons, I don't know what happened, 1090 one day went out of business. I mean, who knows what happened, right? They were home of the Padres, they were home Chargers for long. I mean, it was just how could this happen to a major radio station? But radio has been and still is going through some weird stuff because the internet and, streaming and podcasts and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, so we fortunately, just before that happened, launched our app, our Let's Talk Hookup app that you just saw on the screen. And that has been a game changer for us. It has absolutely been an incredible game changer. And I want to thank our guy, Adam Clark, and then Bobby Woolrich, who actually was both 1090 guys that helped me do all that. Excuse the phone there. I forgot to turn the ringer off. And those guys helped me launch this app. And it's actually with a company in Seattle called Subsplash. And they when I started, they did just church apps, right? So they streamed sermons on churches' apps. And so I asked them, I said, well, can you develop an app for us? And they said, yeah, sure. And that's what they did. So we developed that. And there you go. We have our Let's Talk Hookup app that has taken us to totally different levels now, as you know, by adding your app.
Oh, absolutely. Well, it makes it perfect for me. And I know a lot of people down here in Cabo and all over. And we just had a guy throw up a thing there that he's listening to you listening to this in Cancun. But the app makes it so that I get to listen to the show wherever I'm at, no matter where we're at. And now with Starlink, most of the captains and everybody, we get to listen to your app when we're out on the boats, out on the yachts, out on the long range boats. So that whole little hiccup, you were ahead of it by the grace of God.
Yeah.
You didn't
skip right time. Yeah.
You didn't skip a beat. And then all of a sudden you called me up and you went, hey, we're back on 1090. And I'm like, really? You're like, yeah, they're back. We're back. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going to be a game changer because now you got the app and you got the radio show. It's going to be hard for people not to hear you.
For sure. And it was interesting because when 1090 went out of business, this is a crazy story. So my wife and I had planned this trip to Japan for a year, right? And so it just so happened that when we were on that trip in Japan, I got the call. Okay, you're off the air. 1090 is out of business. It's like, really? So I was negotiating a new deal with a new radio station in Japan on the phone from there, which okay, so at 8 a.m. here, it was like 7 p.m. there, right? So it was kind of weird, but got it done and got to renegotiate a new deal with a radio station called The Fan here in San Diego. It's home of the Padres. But and they were good to us for 18 months. They were great. And they had streaming on the air, but we lost all that LA signal on the radio. And I had no idea how important that LA signal was, LA and Orange County signal, I should say, because the Fan doesn't go anywhere but San Diego. And really, it doesn't do a very good job in San Diego itself. The signal just basically sucks on 97.3. I'm sorry to say that, but it is. So by moving back to 1090 and having that signal as well as the app, we got almost like turbocharged because we had people turned on to the app and then we had our big signal back. And so the show has never been more popular than it is today, thanks to the app and thanks to, the big signal on 1090, because people can listen kind of all over the place.
Hey, my buddy, Kevin Cubby Paul you see that, what he just wrote there?
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. In fact, I built a sailboat. I built a 31-foot sailboat, and we were docked next to Moonbeam and Cubby, and Cubby and I became good buddies. And I quickly figured out that you couldn't fish very well from a 31-foot sailboat, so I traded the sailboat in for a 25-foot sport fisher and got rid of the sailboat. So Cubby's a great guy, and good to see Cubby around.
Oh, yeah. He's a wonderful guy. We just had dinner with him night before last. He's one of my best buddies in the whole world. But he loves to listen to your show every Saturday and Sunday morning, and he just gives me so much garbage when I get on there. He's like, how in the heck are you telling everybody what's going on and you're in Cabo with me? And I'm like, because I have that information like you and I talked about before. Another guy that likes to give me a bunch of grief about it is Pete Grossbeck. Pete loves to give me
yeah. Pete, I went to elementary school in Cabrillo Elementary School in Point Loma with Pete's little brother, Jimmy.
Oh, wow.
And we used to go down there and drive down to the Marlin Club. and watch Pete come in on his little wooden boat, Baccaruda, and load up on marlin. You know, back when Pete was like, Pete was like a teenager back then, right?
Yeah, he tells a great story about on my website. I have legends in a bunch of the legends talking, and Pete talks about when he went out on the aluminum boat, and his dad told him he can't leave the harbor. He went all the way out to the 9, caught his
Yeah.
first marlin. Caught his first marlin. He was 14 years old on the aluminum boat. Got in at 9.
Oh, was that boat aluminum? I thought it was wood.
I don't know. Maybe it was wood. Maybe
Yeah.
I don't remember the story. Remember the 70s were really hard on me, so I don't remember the story exactly correct. But now with your website and stuff, you do a lot of really cool promotional trips where
Yeah.
guys get to go out with the people that are on your show, and they get to go. You call it, what do you call? It's like a workshop.
Field research, man.
No. That when you send guys out on charters with Let's Talk Hookup.
Yeah, you mean just host?
Yeah,
yeah, like we call it a join us trip or hosting the trip. Yeah. So we're very fortunate to have a lot of great sponsors for a number of years on Let's Talk Hookup that have been with us. And so if it's a travel destination like Kingfisher Charters or Katmai Lodge or Queen Charlotte Safaris or Rancho Leonero or Palmas de Cortez or the sport boats, Royal Polaris, Islander, American Angler. We host trips on various boats and or travel destinations and go on as many of those. Either Ricky or myself go on as many of those as we possibly can, and then we have people that help us out with the show that also help host the trips for us too, because we can't go on all of them, of course. But those are fun. We get product from our sponsors to give away at a lot of them, except for the ones down, up that we have to travel with because we can't travel with them. But the sport boat ones, we host a lot of product from sponsors that we can give away and stuff like that. But they're fun, and that's what we call when we have to go fishing. We go field. It's our field research, right? We have to go. Right. It's our job.
And then you named your boat Field Research.
Exactly. So. Yeah.
And then you do like tournaments too. The Let's Talk Hookup tournaments down here at the East Cape.
Yep.
Down in Loretto Rumble.
Yeah, the Loretto Rumble, which we're going on in a couple of weeks with Cast Tours. That's a lot of fun. This was actually a shot from a live broadcast with the Sport Fishing Association of California that we did down in Cabo. And the whole purpose of that was to try and further our relationships with the Mexico fisheries people. I mean, a lot of people came from Mazatlan, and big fishery guys came in, and I think Ken Frankie set all this stuff up, and works really closely with the Mexicans to try and further our success with being able to fish in Mexico. So that was where that shot came from.
Yeah, and one thing, since we're talking about that, we need to let everyone understand that it is not our right to fish in a foreign country.
Absolutely,
it is a privilege. It is an absolute privilege that can be taken away at any given time. We don't want to do it.
Yeah.
The ugly American down here.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so like I went to the Bart Hall show in Long Beach yesterday, and they have a good representation of the Mexico fisheries people there. So when you go to that show, if you're going to that show today or this weekend, go by and thank those guys. Hey, thank you for allowing us to fish in your waters. We really appreciate it. And let them know that.
Absolutely. It's a big deal. And then another thing that you are super involved in is the Rallo.
Yep. Captain Rallo's Kids at Sea. Yeah. AKA Friends of Rallo.
Of course, that's a big deal.
Yeah. Rallo was a guest on Let's Talk Hookup numerous times, either by himself or with Captain Frank Lopresti before he sadly passed away a number of years ago. And Tracy Toussaint actually called me up and said from the Royal Star, she's Randy Toussaint's wife and runs the office at the Royal Star, called me up and he said, hey, we're going to start this organization called Friends of Rallo because Rallo loved to take kids fishing, and it's going to be all about taking kids fishing. And I said, I'm in. Whatever I can do to help, I'm in. And so we have a great board of directors. And have incredible people like Mike Lum and Tim Baker, Harold Davis, Steve Pinard, that help us. Howard Coolidge, who does a lot, help us raise money exclusively just to take kids fishing. And so they've chartered many boats out of Dana Wharf Sport Fishing, Seaforth, all the landings in San Diego, all the way up and down the coast. If you have a group of kids that wants to go fishing, whether it be from an underprivileged neighborhood or from Rancho Santa Fe, that's what Rallo's all about, is just getting kids out on the water and taking them fishing on the saltwater, on the sport boats.
And it's an amazing deal because a lot of kids don't even know that that ocean is so close and so easily accessible. And the thing Mike Lum and Baker and you guys promote this thing so big time. And like Mike always says, what people need to understand is all of the money goes to taking kids fishing.
That's right.
Yeah,
we don't get paid. I mean, you only have 2 salaried employees because they work their asses off, and that's Tim Baker and Mike Lum. But they don't get paid a lot. No. Everything else, everybody else is a volunteer. All the people at the shows that help out and stuff like that are all volunteers. So, and I think the number now is like 145,000 kids have been taking fishing since Rallo's inception.
Oh my gosh, that makes my heart feel so good because I talk about taking kids fishing all the time on my show and how important it is.
Oh, yeah.
And then, like, they just did the day at the docks, and it was all that tackle that had been donated from all of the anglers all over California, and they sold all that tackle. And then Mike was on your show right before telling this is the biggest donation they've ever had, the most tackle they've ever had.
The best fundraiser in the history of Rallo, which is saying something because there's been some pretty good ones. Don't forget, there were times when we gave away a Davis boat and, a Ford truck and that kind of stuff. This one outdid them all. And that's because of Mike Lum, Tim Baker, and all the support system that they have, Howard Coolidge and stuff. That's those guys doing it. I'm just a guy that talks about it and promotes it. But you know what really makes Friends of Rallo, Captain Rallo's Kids at Sea work are all the generous people that donate so much to help. All the people that donate the tackle, all the people that buy tickets for the spin the wheel or buy tickets for what's happening now is our annual raffle that's going to happen, give away these things at the end of April. It's going to be for the annual raffle. All that is because of fishermen like the people that are listening to your broadcast here that generously donate out thousands and thousands of dollars. And that's what makes it work.
And I'm throwing you on the fire here, but do you have their website? Do you have that available on your
right it's rallokids.org. ROLLO kids, KIDS.org. rallokids.org. And that's and you can donate there. You can find out about all the promotions. Like we're coming up this month, we have a great promotion with Akuma, one of your sponsors, I know. And Akuma, Dave Brown's going to be doing some spots on Let's Talk Hookup. And they're going to be giving away reels for buying the annual raffle tickets. So they have this huge promotion for doing what you're going to do anyway, buy some annual raffle tickets where you're going to be able to win a bunch of prizes. And then you're going to be able to win an Akuma reel.
Wow.
So that's coming up here. I think it's going to launch on April 14th. So
how wonderful is that?
Yeah, for sure.
And then another thing that you're super involved in that we need to talk about, and I know you're not a fan of talking about it, I'm not a fan of talking about, there's more closures coming every single day, CCA, and how important Wayne Cattell and Chris are over there. And let's just talk about that for a few minutes, Pete.
Yeah,
I know we both don't like this subject, but it's
the politics of it. But that's the facts of what it is, Dave. As you know, we all have to be involved in this. And what's so cool? Like I saw Wayne Cotto yesterday at the Bart Hall show, and he said they already had 7 life memberships sold, which are $1,000 each, and they already had dozens and dozens of members because you get in free to the Fred Hall show. But if you buy the life membership at the Bart Hall show this week, you get a Daiwa reel, and then you also entered in to win a Hobie kayak and a big safe, and you get a lifetime entrance to the Bart Hall shows, as well as being a lifetime member to the CCA, which is really important. So join CCA. We all have to be a part of it. And yeah, those guys work really hard. I mean, there's so many. They've already made tremendous progress with this 30 by 30 by talking to the right people. And I don't understand the politics. I know you don't care to either, but those guys do. And that's why we need them on our side. So please join CCA.
Well, like I said, when Wayne was on the show and he visited us at the PCS show and he sat and did a little live with me, he has that calming voice. He can actually talk to them. I can't. I don't have a filter. And so my dad never drugged me around with them to any of those meetings. My sister, she's very, very active. She's a very
Oh
big
yeah.
part of it.
Yep.
Donna,
Yeah, your sister, she's on the board of directors with me, yeah, and several other key people too.
you know, my dad put her in that spot because she has that calming voice, unlike myself, that I just I can't stand to listen to the rhetoric and I can't keep my dang mouth shut. So it's better that I don't go. But on the other hand, like I tell every single person that listens to me everywhere I go, if you're not a part of CCA, you really cannot complain about anything because you're not just standing there on the corner complaining about it. You need to get involved. It's the only voice we have at the table.
For
And
sure.
like my dad said, he never understood for some reason why it is so important to shut down sport fishing in California. My dad never quite understood that because we are a great steward of the sea. You will see the sport boats out there picking those balloons up while we're out fishing. You'll see us doing so much proactive stuff. And we were ahead of this rockfish thing, the sport fishing boats. We were ahead of the rockfish. My sister and all the people in that sat on the panel for CCA all said, let's start putting these coppers and these quillbacks back
Yep.
before we get shut down. That's just unbelievable. It doesn't really show what the people think sport fishermen are because we are so proactive and we are so conservative driven. Now, I know I joke about it, that's kind of my stick, but yeah, I want to be able to fish for the rest of my life. I want to be able to take my grandkids fishing and get to see all the cool stuff
Right.
you and I got to see.
What we don't want, Dave, is one day driving out to your favorite fishing spot and saying, you can't fish here anymore. And the reality is that can happen. And they're trying to do that to us. So that's why we really need to do everything we can today to make sure that that doesn't happen, because it already has happened to a lot of people. Look at the people on the Central Coast. The number of closures up there have just devastated them up there for their rockfish and everything like that. It's going to happen in Southern California. They're doing their best to try and take as much water as they can away from us. So let's not make it happen. Let's fight it all we can and support CCA, even if you're not a political person, right? Just join CCA and be a part of the of our future.
Yeah, because you all know what it takes to try to fight these people is it sucks that we have to talk about it, but it takes money.
Yep, it's all about money.
The bottom line. And when you get it taken away, like we lost something that was near and dear to my father and I, we lost all of Laguna, which was that was a crime.
Yeah.
That was just a crime committed on the sport fishing industry. And it had so much to do with the people of Laguna having more money than all of us to do anything. We lost the whole city of Laguna where they were only going to take little pieces. And we lost all of it. And that is probably one of the most beautiful places in California to fish that we'll never be able to fish again. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, be a part of that. Something else that you and I were a part of back in the old days that people don't know, we made those with Danny Jackson, you and I.
The videos, yeah.
Videos. Yeah, if you want to see old Pete, go look at some of those archive videos.
Yeah, the hotspot videos. Danny was think about that. Back in the day, he was such a pioneer for that kind of stuff. There was nobody doing those hotspot kind of things. Now there's all kinds of stuff that you can go on YouTube and stuff like that. But Danny was the man. And I remember Bongo Joe used to, and Pat used to sell them in their booth, the Danny Jackson hotspot videos. Yeah. And they were fun. I learned every time when I'd go out with you and we do those videos, man, I'd learn so much from just doing them and then watching the video too. They were really great.
It was cutting edge back then. That was 30 something years ago. And there was no internet. That was 28 years ago when
I wonder if those are streamed somewhere on we should Danny should have those up on a YouTube channel with all those things, because those things are still relevant for sure.
Yeah, he sold the rights to him to Mako Matt, which is Mako Matt doesn't have his tackle store anymore, but he sold the rights to Mako Matt. And I used to go in there and get them from Mako Matt to give to my remember we made those. Here's something that people are listening that aren't good. We made those on VHS.
Yes. Yeah.
VHS, and Danny's camera was as big as the suitcase I carry back and forth to California. His camera he carried on his shoulder
I
all day.
remember that. Yeah. Yeah. That's so cool. Yeah. That was fun.
VHS.
Yeah. Where were we on the videos we did? Did we do Catalina Island?
No, you did San Diego. You did
Oh.
San Diego, and you did the Coronados.
The Coronados. Okay. With you. Yeah.
And then me and Brockman did San Clemente Island, and we did the Orange County coast, and then Brockman did Catalina, and Brockman did the Horseshoe. And, it was so funny back then because people said we were sellouts, remember?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Sellouts. We were giving away all the
Giving away the spots. Yeah.
Yeah, now
Kind of like Mark
everybody's
Wish, with his book and everything like that. He got so much heat for that book and all the different books that he wrote. And he was just trying to share his knowledge with people. And now we sure appreciate all that knowledge that Mark wrote in those books.
Yeah, well, it's the most important thing. Like I say all the time, and your show does it all the time, is we're sharing all this stuff because there are people that sit on the sidelines and go, well, there's no fish left out there. And we're like, whoa, wait a minute. There is a million fish. We just never gave you our secret. We never showed you where they were.
Yeah.
Now it's a race for everybody. You got Captain, you had those guys on your show, Matt, the other day, Captain's Concept. Everybody is starting to share all the knowledge that they've gained over the years, because if we keep looking over our shoulder, they keep trying to close everything. And it's imperative for us to let everybody know that it's okay to go fishing and that there are fish out there, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. You talk that was a great show. If you haven't heard that show from the guys from Captain's Concepts, go back and listen to that on our archives, our podcasts, either on our app or on our website too. You can listen to those. But I found out some really interesting information yesterday. This tuna season, everybody's like all geared up, and I just watched the Royal Star pull away on a 3-day trip from my office here just a few minutes ago. And several of the boats are going out this weekend because we finally have a little bit of a weather window. It's not perfect, but it's okay. They're going to go out looking. But Adrian, who owns Cedro Sport Fishing, he was at the show yesterday, the Bart Hall show, in the Cedro Sport Fishing booth, and I said, "You're doing a SAC spotter plane pilot." Say that 10 times fast. SAC spotter plane pilot. And I said, "You were up the other day, right?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I said, "What'd you see?" He goes, "A lot of fish." He goes, "I saw a lot of fish." I said, "As good as it was last year, Adrian?" He goes, "Equal as good, maybe better." I go, "So why aren't we on as many fish so far?" And he goes, "It's the weather, Pete. I mean, fish are there. It's just we need to have some weather windows so that we can get them all located, and I'll put you on the fish, and it's there." But there was actually a spotter plane report this morning from SAC that it's down in that 30-30 block. So I think that's where all those sport boats are headed this weekend on multi-day trips. So, but that was good news. So he told me, he also flies for Ted Dunn and the commercial pens, the tuna pens, and he said they were done faster this year than they were last year. 2 weeks they were done with them.
And that's that limit, guys, of the bluefin. That my father and so many people work so hard to try to get everybody to be compliant with, and that is a huge deal. Why we get to catch these fish, because they're not all scared anymore of the sound of the boat, like they were when every seiner on the planet was rapping them before they ever got here.
Right. Yeah.
Something real fun that you got to do. You got to go fly with Tom Green once, didn't you?
I did, yeah. Before he retired, he took me up on his plane, which he was very reluctant to do that. But it was such a cool day. In fact, we took off from El Cajon, and he said, "Well, I'll take you back halfway through, but I got to go check some different areas." So we saw all these spots of fish everywhere, man, and people were on fish everywhere. It was so awesome. And huge spots of bluefin around Clemente, Catalina, all the area from San Diego all the way up. And then he said, "Okay, I'm going to take you back because I got to fly south and see if there's any fish down there." And I was like, "Do I have to go back?" He goes, "No." I said, "Can I just stay?" And so we went for a few more hours and checked out all this area down south too that was kind of lifeless, really, after seeing all this fish up on the north. We went down south, saw a few spots of small yellowfin, but we found out where the fish weren't. And that's the advantage of having these spotter planes. Is you can find out where they're not.
And how interesting was it to see that from the air? I bet that was just so cool to see the volume.
Unbelievable. Yeah. And his knowledge too, Dave, the knowledge that he has about, okay, that's a 200-ton spot of 80 to 100-pound fish. He call them in kilograms, but I go, okay, convert from kilograms, 80 to, oh, that's a huge, that's a 50-ton spot of 200-pounders or something like that. He could look right at the spot and say what it was.
That is incredible. But he did that for the seiners for a very long time. So
Yeah. Yeah.
but for you, like guys like you and me, we're just hanging out the window going, "Oh my gosh, look at those fish!" And
Yeah.
that's 15 tons right there. Well, I just some fish.
Yeah. It's
That
so
must have
cool.
been so incredible, and to
So
see all
cool.
the different
Yeah.
life and the kelp patties, and coming from where you came from, standing on the deck and then flying in the air. It's got to be one of the coolest experiences to go through.
You
So,
realize, Dave, you realize how much elevation helps you spot stuff, though. When you go up there, it's like, get higher on your boat, man. You can see stuff more, right?
oh yeah, that's what those towers are for. That's why we put them on those big yachts for those, and the like the Royal and all those guys have that little bucket up on the top to see.
Yeah.
The higher you get, the better you see. But no advantage like being in an airplane.
No, no.
That is incredible. So you got your website. You got over there on your website. You got some really cool clothes. You got all kinds of cool stuff going on at Let's Talk Hookup. I mean, we're getting down. We've already. I know you said, "Oh, Dave, I don't have anything to talk about. I don't think I can do an hour." Pete, we're already at 55 minutes.
Oh, my. Okay. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Cool. Well,
So,
yeah, on our website, letstalkhookup.com, we have a store. We don't sell a lot of stuff, but we sell T-shirts and hats and our club card, and we have these really cool AFCO bags that have our embroidery on it. They're on sale right now. Those are really a cool item, like a tackle bag. And AFCO is one of our partners. Such a great group of people over there at AFCO, and do so much stuff for us. And while I'm on the subject of AFCO, we can't forget to say kudos to Bill Shedd. That guy has done more for sport fishing with all his knowledge and generous donations to United Anglers, CCA, and I mean, he was instrumental in making the gill nets go away, and many other things too. But thanks to Bill Shedd and all he did.
swordfish thing, he's been right on the edge of that the whole time too.
Absolutely. So yeah, you can see our store there. You can go online and buy some stuff. We have these cool embroidered shorts, AFCO shorts, and hats, and some performance gear and stuff like that. But and then the other thing you can find on our Let's Talk Hookup website is all our trips. We list all our trips. A lot of them are already sold out. But you can find out which ones are still available and which one still has availability. One of the ones that has availability that I'm amazed at is the Rancho Leonero trip. And I saw John Ireland and Pam and Phil and the gang at the Rancho Leonero booth at the Bard Hall show yesterday. This is their last year. John sold the ranch, and he sold it to some home builders from Monterrey, Mexico. And the ranch is going to be no longer in 2024. So if you want to go to one of the greatest places in the world, Rancho Leonero, you got to go this year. And Pam told me yesterday that we still have 4 rooms left for our June Rancho Leonero trip, which I'm amazed at. So sponsored by Statewide Stripes, our good buddy Dave. I don't know if you know Dave. He has a boat in Cabo there, Dave. But Dave Brithwaite from Statewide Stripes, super good guy, really loves to fish. And so if you want to go to Rancho Leonero with us, grab one of those rooms. It's really fun.
Yeah, you guys want to check out the ranch before it goes away, because like Pete just said, it's going away. This is the last year. It'll be demolished next year, and it'll be a whole bunch of houses or maybe a big hotel. You don't know, but it won't be the ranch anymore. That's for sure.
No, it won't be that beautiful palapa roofed ranch that we so love. Yeah, I know you love it too, Dave.
Oh, it is just amazing. When you get there, it's like you're in a different world. When you drive down that dirt road and you get to the ranch, and you're like, wow. Because when you're driving down the dirt road, and the very first time you drive down the dirt road, you're like, wait a minute, where are we going? where we
Yeah.
go.
What is this place? But
And
it's
then there's traffic jam with 5 or 6 cows standing in the middle of the road, right?
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
And
no,
you come around that corner and you're at the big parking lot with the entrance, and it's like, oh my gosh, how did he do this out here on this point? And when he did it, there was no houses there. There
yeah,
was nothing there.
for sure. Yeah.
And then one thing I wanted to say, gang, those of you that are members of our website and those of you that aren't, you might want to check it out. There is a phenomenal interview with Bill Shedd. And we get
Oh,
down to the nitty gritty and we talk about how instrumental his father was at SeaWorld. His father built SeaWorld. There was no SeaWorld. There was no such word as SeaWorld before Milt Shedd put that thing together. So if you want to see something really amazing and understand what they did actually for the killer whale, because when you hear Bill tell the story of what they did with killer whales before Bill's father put them in, it's pretty amazing. We won't talk. We don't want to lose any viewers, but you go listen to what the United States Navy used to use killer whales for. You'll go, well, maybe it's a good idea that they're in these aquariums.
yeah.
Great.
Yeah, and Bill and his dad Milt did so much, have done and still do. Bill still works actively, even though he's kind of semi-retired from AFCO. He's not really retired. He's amazing. So that I'm going to have to go on your Saltwater Guide and watch that interview with Bill, because Bill's one of my heroes, man. He is such a super guy.
He's such a good human. He's kind of like what my dad was doing at the end. He doesn't need to do anything. He's done. He
Yeah.
he did his thing. AFCO, he built it. It's great. It's a phenomenal business, but he's still fighting the fight because he knows how important it is to make sure our grandkids get to go do what we love.
Yes, for sure.
Right?
Yeah.
It's so important.
No question about it.
So a quick recap. Rallo's kids at
Yeah. RalloKids.org. ROLLOKIDS.org. Buy the annual raffle. All the money goes to taking kids fishing. So buy your annual raffle tickets, and that big promotion with Akuma is coming up. So listen to Let's Talk Hookup when we announce that, and take advantage of those free Akuma reels too.
All right, there it is, right there.
Yeah,
check that out right there on the screen. And then the other thing, those of you that haven't that fish, but you've been living in a cave, you don't know. Pete has a radio show every Saturday and Sunday. It's the way that Kelly and I. Our whole life revolves around Saturday and Sunday mornings. We listen to them for 2 hours Saturday, 2 hours Sunday. Talk about the radio show real quick. We're going to throw a couple plugs in for you because we're going to wrap this thing up. I told you I only needed you for an hour.
All right, cool. That sounds great. So, yeah, every Saturday and Sunday, 7 to 9 a.m. on the Mightier 1090 ESPN radio. That's an easy way to listen if you're within the signal voice, which would be LA, Santa Barbara, LA, Orange County, San Diego. Or if you have trouble getting the signal or you don't want to listen to the radio, you can just download our app. Our app is free. It's Let's Talk Hookup on the App Store or the Google Play Store. And it's a free download, and you can listen live. You can listen to the podcast archives of all shows on there. Has a direct link to our website and all the information that we have on the website. One thing we didn't really talk about is the addition to Corey Sandin on the show. And I don't want to forget Corey. Corey joined us a couple of years ago as our third co-host, so Ricky and I could go out and do more field research and have a backup there. And that's the honest truth. That's why we did it. But Corey is such a great addition to the show because he brings a whole new knowledge. He is not an offshore fisherman. He is an inshore fanatic. Loves to surf fish. He loves the calico bass fish. He loves to fish the bays. He loves freshwater bass fishing. He's added a whole new dimension to the show, and we're just so pleased and excited to have Corey Sandin to be a part of the show.
And he owns MC Swim Baits that we all fish with all the time. He pours some of the most incredible swim baits out there, right?
The best, yeah. MC Swim Baits, yeah. He pours every single one of them by himself, Dave.
And then he also brings a different aspect to it, because like he told me one time when I was on the show, he goes, "Hold on, Hanson, hold on. I'm a bait guy. I worked for the Everingham brothers for a long, long time hauling your bait that you love to fish with." So he's got every angle. He went out there.
He's got all kinds of knowledge that we don't have because he's done a lot of the background stuff. He worked at Seaforth for a number of years, a lot of stuff there. Yeah.
Yep. He brings a whole different aspect to the show when he's on there. It's really fun. It's never not fun to listen to, but his perspective of what's going on is a different deal. And he's a big time surf. If you like to surf fish, boy, you want to talk to
Boy.
Corey.
Yeah, he's a master. Or calico bass fish. The other thing too, this weekend, a couple of great shows. Tomorrow on Let's Talk Hookup, Dwayne Diego, master angler and super amazing guy, is going to be here. Rare appearance by him because he's always fishing. He's always out working, either in Palau or he just got back from Australia, and then he has Pinnacle Sport Fishing. So going to be opportunity to talk to one of the master bluefin guys on the show tomorrow morning, 7 to 9. Then Sunday, 7 to 9, we're going to have Sean and Raymond from Fisherman's Processing. Raymond's a hard guy to get on the show. Raymond is the master cutter at Fisherman's Processing. So he's going to have maybe some inside tips for you on how to properly cut your fish and keep your fish and stuff like that. So that's going to be a fun show on Sunday too.
And Pete, thank you so much. I went over the hour. I promised you an hour.
That's cool, man. Thanks for having me
so much. This was a great show. A lot of people really enjoyed it. We had a lot of people watching, a lot of people. So thank you so much. Thank you for everything you've done for me. You guys don't understand. Pete has been such a huge part of my life since I was a little kid. He is just, for me, he's been like my hero, and I'm so happy that I get to be on your show on Sunday mornings, and I do try to do the very best job because I do not want to let you down.
Well,
I just don't want to let you down.
You don't, Dave, and we're looking forward to your report. What are you going to talk about this Sunday?
We're going to talk about tomorrow is opening day of Rock Cod.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
We've got so many people all fired up going out fishing tomorrow. We're going to have some great reports of this rockfish. Plus, I talked to Don Brockman. He said that there's going to be a squid boat at Catalina. So who knows? We could have sea bass to talk about. San Pedro Bait Company has opened the bait barge up this morning. That's breaking news. You get that over on our website, but they've been closed all winter long. So San Pedro Bait Barge is open. The Carne or we're not exactly sure who. Brockman didn't tell me, but somebody's going to be selling squid if they catch it tonight in front of Avalon tomorrow morning. And also Long Beach, if they catch it, the Carnage will be selling it out of the bait barge there. So there's going to be so much to talk about. Stay tuned. It's going to be incredible. If you're not part of my website, you need to become part of my website too at yoursaltwaterguide.com. Pete's a member. I've helped him out. He helps me out. We help each other out just like we do for everybody. And thank you so much again, Pete, for being a part of the show. This was so fun.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate you and appreciate what you do. And don't forget to download Dave's app too. It's a great app. So check it out. Thanks for having me, Dave.
All right, buddy. Thank you. We're going to sign off, gang. Thank you very much for watching. Talk to you all on Monday. Have a great weekend. Be kind to each other and turn off the news. They're all lying.